Is going to be introduced by Peter Taaffe, General Secretary of the Socialist Party, on the whole issue of world perspectives. And Peter's going to speak for an hour.
Well, Comrade Chair and comrades, I don't think we could have got the Congress of the Socialist Party off better than the two contributions of Comrade Sarah and of John, who unfortunately had to leave, of the Prison Officers Association. Because what that contribution shows is the change that is being wrought even before a serious economic, social and political crisis in Britain, and after all, what has been an arm, if you like, of the capitalist state in the past, and of course still is. But what it indicates is that change is being undertaken in this particular field, and in particular in the consciousness of what is now becoming a section of the working class and the labour movement. And if there is one theme of my opening remarks, and hopefully of this Conference of the Socialist Party, it is the preparation for the change that is coming, socially, economically of course, and above all politically, in the terrain in which the members and the activists of this party are working. And I mean by change, not the spurious, not the empty phrase of change that is being used by Gordon Brown, or even by Obama in the US at the present time, but profound and serious changes, perhaps the like of which even the older generation in this meeting today have not seen in their long experience in the labour movement. And you know, we're not the only ones who prepare with perspectives to try and foresee the development of events. I don't know whether comrades saw the press this week, but the files of the British state have been opened, particularly in the Second World War, and it's been revealed that in the course of that war, British intelligence and the War Department actually consulted an astrologer, what they call a state seer, a man who had a predisposition towards transvestism. We make no judgments on that, and amatory inclinations we read in these particular revelations. But this man was selected by the British ruling class, or an arm of the British ruling class, to see how Hitler, who it seems also believed in astrology, how Hitler would fight a battle, particularly the invasion of Britain, and even, by the way, they consulted him on the likely outcome of the Battle of El Alamein. Well, Marxists are materialists. We seek an understanding of the future events, not in the stars, but in a painstaking analysis of the objective situation as it's developing in society at each stage. In fact, as Leon Trotsky pointed out, it's a point which particularly the new generation has got to take on board at this conference today. Marxism is the science of perspectives. In order to understand perspectives, we have to understand the reality in which we are working. And I would appeal at the beginning of this conference to all comrades, particularly to those who have come into this conference for the first time, if they have a question which we've not answered, if they have a point of clarification, this is the arena in which to come forward and to raise points in order to have a discussion, to clarify and point the way forward for the development of the labour movement and, above all, of our organisation. Now, this perspective, from our point of view, has always proceeded from an international standpoint. Even when we didn't have a CWI, even when we only had a handful of comrades in Britain, we proceeded from the point of view of analysing the situation internationally. National perspectives are important, but it's frankly impossible today to work out the march of events in the national arena without understanding the main trends from a world point of view. Because we now have an unparalleled intertwining between events on a national plane and world factors. After all, the great Karl Marx, 180 years ago, in his tremendous little book, The German Ideology, pointed out that capitalism had developed the world market, and for the first time it was possible now to have world history in the real sense of the term. Previous to the development of capitalism, history ran in local and national and regional grooves, if you like. But the development that has taken place in capitalism, particularly in almost 2 decades of capitalist globalization, has taken this trend to a level that Marx would never have been able to conceive. And even in the earlier part of this century, I would say there's been a step change in the development of capitalist globalization. I'll mention one fact here, which perhaps I'll come back to later on, time permitting. And that is the development of the Colossus of China. Even since 2001, the amount of exports being generated by China and its involvement in the world market means that even a slight drop, and that's coming as we will show, in the development of world capitalism will have literally earth-shaking events in a social and an economic and, above all, a political recoil. And Marxism gives that phenomena the term of revolution. That is posed in the developments that are likely to unfold in the course of the next period. I will touch on the economic developments of world capitalism, but we have a slight problem in Britain in relation to this. Because the economic tsunami, and that's what it is, which is broken in the US at the present time, has yet really to reach the shores of Britain. If I could use another parallel in relation to the Second World War. Before the real war began, there was what people at that stage called the phony war. And the armies were mobilized. And there was talk about war. But the actual war, a shot had not been fired, at least in Britain. And the psychology developed, well, perhaps this is merely a war in the newspapers and not in the reality of the lives of ordinary working people. We have a little of that in Britain at the present time.